one of the most important parts, being a CEO means we get to create business in a way that does not depend on the CEO or on the founder. So one of the most important key responsibilities for a CEO is to create independent thinkers, because majority of your time should be spent on building the vision, building the systems, and solving futures problems. Your job is not to make decisions for others. If you currently are still making decisions for others, that means your business has not taught you a lesson of how to create systems for independent thinking. And when your business has fall short of creating independent thinkers, it will consume most of your time in making decisions with others, approving other projects, approving other decisions, getting involved with other thinkers, when you should be building systems for independent thinkers to actually execute on themselves. So the biggest problem I see with most businesses is that businesses have poor systems for creating independent thinkers. And so the first one is like, stop answering every single decision. Instead of give them an answer that actually asks them, what do you recommend yourself? What do you think should be the best thing that we currently do in this opportunity that you have given me? What would be the best decision that we should be making here? Why we should be making this decision? Why we should be answering this question? What are the risks? What is the upside? What is the downside, right? You want to build judgment, not just dependence, and not creating somebody else to always come to you to get an answer, because eventually you are designing your business to be conditioned in a certain way. That conditioning, that design is going to produce an outcome. It's not that we get random outcomes, it's we get systemized outcomes. And so if your system is not to create independent thinkers, not everybody to think on them by themselves, we are creating a system where the most of the decision making will go through the CEO, and that's still a system. Not having a system means you still have a system, as interesting it may sound to you. Most of the important thing is stopping to answer all the time the questions from your team. Your team may come to you and say, hey, I have a client, he's really difficult, he wants to speak to you, what we should do here. Should I forward him to you, or should I speak to him? What should be the best thing to do? Hey, I have a client currently that wants to join the program. He wants to join our service. He wants to get onboarded, but before he does, he wants to speak to you. Okay. And now these type of questions are consistently repeating themselves. One of the best things you can do is create actual frequently asked questions, and you can show them how these questions have been answered. One of the best things I like about people stop asking you for questions is that you teach them a framework of how to actually make an independent decision. And then you can also have a criteria where you can show them exactly what decisions can they make by themselves, and which decisions they should be making by themselves and focusing on a certain framework, which decisions should be required for the management to involve. So let's say maybe a tier below you, an executive maybe can get involved to make that decision with them, and which decisions should be made with you. Okay. Once you categorize them, it's much easier for people and your team to really recognize, okay, this is a decision, this is type of decision that I should be making by myself. This is that type of decision where I am actually required to have an executive. You should have a broad criteria of what those decisions look like, what decisions could be irreversible, and what decisions are reversible as well. So obviously when it comes to a decision that's kind of like irreversible, you want to be making sure that you have the best interest to making that decision. And so then yes, you can get involved, or you can maybe have an executive that already can make that decision for you. But one of the most important things, which is the number one, is stop answering everything. Okay, you are trying to build independency inside of your business, not dependency. And to build independency, you need to start to build people that can think by themselves. So when the question comes, either we have criteria or you ask them, what do you think we should do here? Why do you think that's the correct way of doing it? Why do you think that that's the correct decision that we should be making? Why even we should be making this decision? What is the upside? What is the downside? Next one, give real ownership. Okay, so define who recommends what, who decides, and who executes. Because usually what happens is when you don't have ownership, there is no accountability. You can't have accountability without ownership. So the ownership has to happen. Responsibility without authority isn't actual ownership. So when somebody's making that decision, they have the ownership over that decision. And so, yes, the decision could be wrong and we can learn from it. There is a feedback loop that we can tap into and receive feedback, and we can alter our next time decisions based on the feedback we have received. But you have to understand that ownership is one of the most important parts when it comes to building independent thinkers. Independent thinkers should not say, well, I made the decision and it was the wrong decision, and I made this wrong decision because of you. No, it should be, I made this decision, I chose to make this decision. This decision gave me XYZ consequence. Because of this consequence, it took me to where I didn't intend to be. I have learned from it, and now therefore I will not make the same mistake again, because I already have the data and the experience and the knowledge in making better decisions in the future. That's ownership. When you don't have ownership, it's like, well, I thought I gotta make this decision. I thought it's the right decision. I spoke to you and you told me, and this is why I made the decision. Or it's like it's executive number one. I spoke to him. He kind of told me, and I kind of thought to make that decision through him. I think it was him. No, it's like if you make a decision, there's ownership involved, because then we can have the accountability. And then also you are creating independent, not only independent thinkers, but you're also creating the independence learning loop. And one of the most important capabilities of business is to learn really fast, because the faster your business learns, the faster it can actually grow. If your business lacks the learning capacity, the learning capabilities, your business will always be one step behind. So this is why it's really important to, when you are creating independent thinkers, to also give them the ownership. You own that decision, stick by that decision, and you are accountable, and you keep them accountable for it as well. If the decision was wrong, obviously we have to look at what type of consequence of that decision has created. If it's an irreversible consequence, it's costing a lot to business, maybe you have a process that you can take them through. One of the most important things here, okay, that I want to point out is, let's say for some reason, one of your team members is making a decision. They took the ownership of it. They are accountable for making that decision and the consequences, and they made a huge mistake. Maybe it costed you 500K, maybe it cost you 100K, but you can learn from it. It's not a devastating mistake. It's a hard mistake, but it's not a devastating mistake. Instead of you firing them, right, I want you to let them learn from that experience. Because I'm going to give you the reason why. Because most of you will say, what do you mean keep them? What do you mean I have to keep him because he just costed me 500K, he costed me 1 million? But this is what's going to happen. If you fire him, you're going to show example to everybody else in your team that, hey, I don't accept bad news. I shouldn't accept bad news. And if you don't accept bad news stop coming to you. And when bad news stop coming to you, that's when the real problem starts to happen. It's because then the bad news is being repackaged. Some of the key elements that are creating that element of bad news are also being taken out. And you are not getting the full raw material of what is really the bad news. You're getting kind of like, hey, we had three of our clients left last month, and let's say that goes to an executives, it goes to another person, and then when the message reached to you, it's like we have the fulfillment under control. We had some bumps and bruises, but we have everything under control. There should be nothing that you are worried. There should be nothing that you should be worried about. This should never happen, because that means people are hiding problems from you. Let's say if 3 people leave, there should be like, hey, John, Robert, 3 people left today. And this is what we found. We found X, we found Y, we found Z. We're currently working on this, and I'm going to report to you by end of the day what exactly was the decision, what we did, and how we did it, right? So if you say you fire somebody, bad news will never come to you. You are letting people know that if bad news come to me, I will punish you. But the worst thing that can happen is that, let's say you don't catch a problem early, and that problem is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, and the only way you have to find out is when there are serious consequences, when things stop the work, when it's costing you way more money than it should be costing you, when it's like almost devastating consequence. That's when it's too late to learn about the problem. And so the most important thing that you need to understand, right? Give the real ownership, but don't punish if they make mistakes. Because you want to have an open relationship inside of your business. You want people to openly speak about mistakes, because then you can catch mistakes early, you can solve them, you can learn better, you can involve your company better, you can reach the next level much better. The problem becomes if we punish people for making mistakes, okay? So yes, give ownership, yes, accountability, but don't punish them. Unless it's a really devastating mistake that you cannot really forgive. But if it, let's say, it didn't destroy you, then the most important thing is to forgive and learn from that mistake. And yes, if it happens again, completely understand there's completely different consequence. We can fire the person. But the first time it happens, depending on the impact it has caused the business, it's really important that you give everybody else the signal saying, hey, he made a mistake, but I'm not going to punish him. We're going to learn from it. And so now people will be more openly to speak about the problems, the challenges, the constraints, the limitations of what's holding certain things back. And now your business becomes much active in learning, much faster to learn, and much faster get to the next level. So if you are just simply giving ownership and then punishing for them making mistakes, that's going to really cost you a lot as well, because then it's going to cost you in the long term, because people are going to be hiding the problem. So number one, stop answering everything, right? Number two, give real ownership. Let's move to number three. Stop being the approval department. This is really important, right? So set clear decision thresholds. What can the team decide? I already told you this. Categorization is really important. What needs management approval? What actually requires the CEO? If everything needs your approval, you are the main bottleneck. This is why it's so important to categorize what decisions can the independent thinker, let's say team member A, can make by himself, which of decisions he is required to have somebody in the management, somebody in an executive position to make that decision with him, which decisions he has to bring to your attention. We have to have category, and we have to have criteria of what it really looks like. And so when the decision arrives to him, rather than a smallest decision is going to you, he understands, okay, this is not that type of decision that I should be taking to a CEO. This is not that type of decision that I should be taking to an executive. I should be owning this decision, and I should be making it myself. So it's really important to understand that, because if you categorize them and you have criteria for every single decision that you should make, your decision makers will be much smarter, and they will learn much faster as well. And by learning, they can also give advice to everybody. They can give advice, they can give insights, they can also help. Let's say it's not an executive level operator. Let's say it's an employee. Let's say one employee is looking at a decision. He kind of doesn't know. He looks at another employee, asks a question. Says, I have an interesting decision to make. I don't know, should I bring it to an executive? I want to make it by myself, but I just need you to have a look. Because everybody's being trained that way. They can say, hey, this type of decision, yes, you should be making by yourself. And because you're making by yourself, I can just give you some insights. And now your team has the learning capacity. They have the learning capabilities to actually learn from decisions they are making. And now your team is getting much smarter, much better as well. And the environment that we are building inside the organization is increasing the entire enterprise value, okay? Next one, 4, turn your judgment into actual systems. Repeated decisions should become systems. So you have principles, you have processes, you have SOPs or system operational procedures, and you have ownership. Don't keep explaining the same things. If you answered it 5 times, build the entire system. So sometimes, let's say you have a delivery, you have fulfillment to do, you have a certain client. If you see the questions keep repeating, somebody's asking you the same question, we should have a system for it. We should have showing them how have we made that decision, why that decision specifically is correct decision to make for this client. And here's another thing. Don't just show them that, hey, for this question, I have a certain answer for you. Okay, this question has already been answered. I want to show you exactly the answer that I have given. And I want to show you the answer itself. You should show them how and why did you make that decision. This is really important. Why? Because if you have a framework in how did you actually make that decision, how that decision was produced, it's gonna create people to think inside of your framework, not just to receive answer and look for answers, but to create answers through your framework. And your framework becomes the system. So it's like you document how you make a decision. So let me give you an example so you understand. Let's say we have a difficult decision to make. How do we create the framework? You want to record absolutely, you can use this on the phone as well if you have a phone. You can record yourself making that decision. Then what you want to do is you want to upload it to, let's say, an AI platform or a note keeper where it takes all the notes. You want to clean the notes up and you will want to break the decision making into stages. And that becomes the framework and the process of how you actually made it. Then you want to attach principles and system operational procedures of how systematically we can make those decisions. So maybe there should be a four question framework that we should take it through, right? So you should have a framework of how you actually making those decisions, because it's super important. Because the way it's not so important just to give them the answer or have most frequently answered questions. One of the most important things is here to create these independent thinkers to think on their own. So they can think by themselves, they understand how to make the right decisions. And the right decision making doesn't happen by giving them the right answer. It happens when you have the right framework in front of them. When they have the right framework in front of them and they can make a decision with the same framework again and again and again, you start to embed that into their actual hardware. It's already you have installed that inside of their pattern thinking. So every time they want to make a decision, they already are following the framework. They're following the framework. They don't need to go back to the framework. They can look at a question, they can look at the framework and they'll be like, hey, I can make this decision. And then if you want really serious, it's like, hey, here's a framework of how you should make these decisions. If you go through this framework and decision becomes kind of 50-50, not really, we should get executive involved. And your executive should have a framework of making that decision as well. And now it's like a higher tier learning, and we're going up the tier, and your executives can educate as well. They can give insights, and you can produce much better quality people inside of your business. Most important thing here to understand is that your systems are producing the people and the outcome inside of your business. It's not that you place somebody in and they have all the frameworks and everything. It's that you must have the right systems to produce the right outcomes inside of your business. So the next one is build the CEO independence, right? I want you to ask yourself this. If you disappeared, if I disappeared for 30 days, what would stop inside of the business? Okay? And I want you to test yourself. So can the team operate without you? That's the question number one. Can they operate without you? Or let's say you disappeared and now they're looking for you. They need to have the right answers. They are trying to find you. They're trying to see how should I make these decisions? I need approvals. I need sales to happen. I need contracts to be approved. There's a lot of things happening. A lot of your involvement. Next one. Can they make decisions without you? Okay, another one. Are decision rights clear? Do they understand your principles? Do they have the core values and the principles? Can leaders solve problems without escalation? It's very important as well. Can we, if let's say things are escalating, can they solve them by themselves? Are they sophisticated enough in the frameworks and the thinking patterns that they have to solve an escalation? Or does it always require you? Okay. The goal isn't to eliminate the CEO, it's to eliminate unnecessary CEO dependence. You don't want to completely walk away from your business, okay? Now, eventually you want to do that, but the main thing, what you want is, you don't want to be unnecessarily left out. You don't want to be absolutely involved in everything. You want to build that independence. And the most important thing, okay, the most important thing that I want you to understand here is this. You are conditioning your business from the beginning. It's not that when you say, when we're going to reach 100K, 200K a month, 300K a month, or we're going to reach 500K a month, I'm going to be thinking about these systems. This should